everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Shelby Bowen. I am a Christian life coach, and if you notice a little bit of change of scenery in today's video, it's because I'm sitting outside on my porch and I thought, what better place to talk with you guys about how to live fully present in the moment while planning for the future and healing from the past. There's a quote I love and I'm going to read it to you guys. It's from philosopher Alan Watts, and he says, "If we're taking all the time, we never hear what anyone else has to say. In the same way, if we're talking to ourselves all the time, we're never listening and never in a relationship with reality." I will tell you guys, especially as Christians, we tend to think a lot about what is my purpose here on earth? What am I supposed to be doing in this life? What is the purpose or the calling that God has given me? And we live so much in a future reality, in a future day, wondering and worrying about how we're going to get there. But there is so much power and there is so much peace in living in the present. And I truly believe that these principles can really alter your life. Living in the present can ease anxiety, depression, stress. And so a lot of the very practical tips that we're going to be walking through today, I believe if you implement them, you will see a big change in your life. I know that when I start to get anxious, anxiety oftentimes is worry about what's to come. And when I take a step back and allow myself to live in the day, that's when I notice those fears and those worries start to move away. And so I'll tell you one of the things that was the most impactful for me, and it's actually really simple. And I was praying the Lord's Prayer. I started to get into this practice where every day I started praying the Lord's Prayer, because if Jesus modeled to us the perfect prayer to pray, the perfect way to pray, what was it about that prayer that was so impactful that Jesus was trying to get across to us? And there's a specific part that God has just really been impressioning me on my heart to focus on. And, we talk a lot about coming out of hyper-charismatic spaces, and, I get a lot of questions from my clients. How does God speak to me? And I'll tell you the same thing that I tell them. God speaks to you through the Bible. He speaks to you through the written word. And it's like when you're reading something, or you're reading a verse or a passage, whatever, that you read all the time. But you read it, and this time there's a revelation. This time it just hits you in a different way, where you're like, wow, I can really see how much I needed that, how much that applies to my life. And I truly just believe that that's the way that God speaks to our heart in often cases. That's not to say he doesn't speak to us through other ways, but it's the primary way that we should seek God's counsel. With that being said, as I would pray the Lord's Prayer, "Dear Heavenly Father, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come. Your will be done on earth as it is in heaven." Okay, now here's the part. "Give me today my daily bread." And every morning I sit and I pause when I say that. And I really emphasize it. Not because I think God needs us to emphasize it, but I emphasize it for myself. Like, God, give me today my daily bread. And I let that be a reminder for myself in that moment that I believe in a God who says that he directs my steps, that he orders our steps. And so as I'm praying, as I'm asking God to give me today what I need, there's a part of relinquishing control that I do in that moment. Okay, God, I'm giving you over the keys. I'm getting out of the driver's seat. I'm stepping into the passenger seat. Give me today what my daily bread is. You know what I need. You know what my life needs. You know what I need today that will help me walk in what I'm going to do 5 years from now. And give me today what I need. And I'm going to relinquish the control I have, and I'm going to hand that back over to you. And it's in that moment that I feel like there's a powerful exchange that happens to us, where we step into kind of a mindfulness and a recognition of what is it today, what is today going to hold, what is today going to bring, and really being present for and trusting what God is going to bring in for today. Before we go into the next point, I just want to stop and pause and say, if you are interested in working with me as a life coach one-on-one, we talk through a lot of this stuff, but we personalize it and tailor it to what exactly is going on in your life. It can be really hard to hear all of these videos and everything out there on YouTube or on podcasts and try to figure out how to implement it in your life. One of the best things about working with a life coach is I tailor it specifically for the things that you're going through, and we make sure that we are setting you up to step into the life of purpose and joy and peace that you have been desiring. I have a couple other verses, and then I'm going to get into some practical advice. The first one is Matthew 6:34, which says, "Therefore do not be anxious about tomorrow, for tomorrow will be anxious for itself. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble." Psalm 16:11. "You make known to me the path of life. In your presence there is fullness of joy. At your right hand are pleasures forevermore." The reason I put that Psalm 16:11 on there is because you make known to me the path of life. God shows us a path of life, the way that we can keep ourselves pure from the wicked things that are in the world, that our flesh craves and desires. He makes known to us the path of life, and through mindfulness, through being present in the moment, we're more aware of when temptations come our way. We're more aware of when an open door presents itself and we have the opportunity to say no to that. When we're really distracted, which we have these, and these are so distracting. And if you're listening to this on podcast, I'm holding up my phone. And these devices, social media, gosh, when I am anxious, I notice myself looking to soothe by scrolling on social media. And I don't know if you see yourself doing that too, but I catch myself saying, okay, I'm picking up this coping mechanism, which is really what it is. And so I set the phone down. And okay, so I'm feeling anxious. What can I do about that in the moment? So what is living in the present moment? It's essentially defined as being able to focus your concentration on any given thing for any amount of time that you choose. And we talk about these distractions, right? These cell phones and electronics, the TV, all of these things that are at our fingertips that inhibit us from being able to focus and give our concentration at the things at hand. And the reason why living in the present is so impactful is because it gives us a better sense of reality and a better sense of who we are. When we live in the present moment, we are living from within. We are experiencing what the present moment, what God has put into our lives, what He has asked us to steward. And that is a really big thing. You know, what is God asking you to steward in your life? What giftings and talents is He giving you that He's asking you to steward? If you're so focused and worried about everything that's to come, then you're not stewarding what you have now. And I have to remind myself that a lot, especially when I first started my life coaching business. Okay, God, what are you asking me to steward and be faithful with now? As each client came, let me be faithful and steward this. Instead of looking for, you know, how long until my entire book is filled up and I have a waiting list, or how long until this happens, or you have this many views on a YouTube, or whatever it is. It's okay, God, how can I steward what you've given me right now? And that's been something that I've continued to have to remind myself and implement just in my own life and in my own business. And that doesn't just apply to my career, it applies to making a family. You know, we had a miscarriage, and so talking about being present in the moment, stewarding what I do have right now, and that is my husband and our marriage and, you know, where we live and our family around us, and how can I steward that? How can I steward those relationships while, you know, still planning and checking in on our health and making sure everything's okay, and, you know, doing the work that we need to make sure that we can have that family. So let's get into the first thing, which is becoming mindful or becoming aware of your surroundings. And John Adams has a quote which says, "A man who knows himself can step outside of himself and watch his own reaction." Oh Lord, this has taken me a long time to be able to do this, where I can see these negative thought spirals trying to come on or starting to come on, and being the observer. So being the observer, taking like a step outside and observing these thoughts that are coming in. So often we react really quickly to the negative emotions or feelings or experiences that we have, and then we just give out our power, which is essentially our control, our emotions, our control over our emotions, to somebody else. If we're in an argument and we give them the power by immediately being upset by what they said, reacting back, being violent back, and, you know, responding vehemently, whatever that looks like, and we've already given over that power to them. But what is it like to be the observer? And living present in the moment is being observant over the thoughts that come into our mind every single day. psychologists say that the people who are generally happier are the people who are more mindful. They're more exuberant, more secure in themselves. They have a higher self-esteem, decreased ego involvement, and are likely to have are likely to have less chronic pain and increased immune systems. That is crazy when you think about it, how just mindfulness has such a control over internal and external systems. You know, the way you're internally feeling about yourself and your confidence and your ego, and then externally, you know, your body physically, which I guess can be internally as well, but the chronic pain and the way your immune system functions. It's just how important this living present and being mindful thing is. And so what would a practical exercise be of being mindful in a moment? So I talk a lot about primary and secondary emotions. And so being mindful could be a thought comes in your head of, I feel stupid. Okay, so let's take a moment and observe that thought and that feeling from a distance without judging it. Okay, I'm going to hold it here. I'm not going to judge it, and I'm going to analyze it. This is like data on a spreadsheet. We're analyzing the data that's coming in through our brain, and we're observing it. And what we want to do is understand where it's coming from. And so I'm not going to go into all the primary and secondary emotion stuff now. You can watch some of those videos, super important information. But essentially, we have emotions that cover up other emotions. So anger would be a secondary emotion. It protects us from the more vulnerable emotion, which is our primary emotion, which could be disappointment. So I'm angry, but I'm actually really disappointed. And so when it comes to feeling, I can't remember the example that I used, that you weren't smart enough or you weren't good enough. Why do you feel that way? What event or what thing in your life has made you feel that way? Observing it, recognizing that it's not the truth, and then letting it pass on. And that leads me into step number 2, which is don't just believe every thought that you have. And being present, being mindful, living in the moment, we're recognizing these things a lot more, which couldn't sound like it takes a lot of time, but this is seconds. Okay, a thought comes into my mind, I recognize it's there, and then I kind of let it pass and move forward and let it, recognize that that is not truth. You get a little quicker at it as time goes on. In the beginning, it might take you a moment because this is something new. This is something you're training your brain to do. But don't believe everything you think. Thoughts are just thoughts. And there's something like, I know I have this statistic down, but I think we have 75,000 thoughts a day, and 60,000 of those thoughts are negative, and majority of those are repetitive. I mean, isn't that crazy? That many thoughts, 60,000 negative thoughts a day. I'm not asking you to stop every single one of those, but these repetitive thoughts we're often rethinking over and over again. And I imagine for the person who's very mindful, who does these practices, that number is going to go a lot lower, and I have noticed that in myself as well. But thoughts are just thoughts. You don't have to believe them, and you do not have to do what they say. A helpful technique that you can do when a disturbing emotion comes in, and this is similar to the acceptance or the mindfulness, is acknowledge it in yourself. So in your mind, or out loud if you want to, you can say to yourself, I'm having a thought that I've labeled as sad or anxious or worrisome, disappointment, and then let it go on by. It's like if it was kind of came in through a breeze into your mind, and then you let it continue to go by in the breeze. Acceptance is the key to moving forward. And part of that too is you can further ask yourselves questions. If you're not sure if this thought is accurate, if this is your mind playing tricks on you, if this is the trauma you've been through that is resurfacing, ask yourself questions. Be the observer. Ask that thought a question. Is this true? Why would this be true? Is there any evidence in my life to support this? Like, okay, a thought comes in, I'm lazy. Okay, am I lazy? Well, I went through a really traumatic thing in my life, and I haven't been doing as much in my work or in my passions, but I'm still doing X, Y, and Z. Okay, so maybe you're healing. Maybe you've been through something traumatic, and this time of your life is being focused on resting and recovering. There's nothing wrong with that. That's actually productive. So how do you know it's true, or how do you know it's false? How can you analyze that information, and what other explanations could exist? Okay, so let's go ahead and move into step 3, which is something called savoring. And that is one of the reasons why I'm sitting out here on my porch with you, is because savoring the moment, to me, a lot of times takes place outside. I love being outside, and I am so happy we moved from Florida to Charlotte, which is where we live now, and I'm so happy because it is so hot in Florida all the time, and it's so hard to be outside when you are just miserable with the mosquitoes and the sweat. But now that I'm here, and of course I tried to do this while we were living there too, but it's savoring the moment. So I'll sit outside, I'll look at the clouds, I'll feel the breeze on my skin, I'll smell the flower bushes, which you can't see, that are right in front of me, and just I'm thankful for this life. I'm thankful for this moment. I'm thankful that God brought us here, that we, after all the time it took for us to pray and wait for this time to come to pass, we're here. We live here now. We have a home. I have a husband who I love. I'm thankful and I'm grateful for this moment. And it can be really hard to do when you have extenuating circumstances going on, but savoring, and I don't know if you've ever read that book, Eat, Pray, Love, where the author Elizabeth Gilbert takes you through several months of traveling to India and Bali while healing from a painful divorce. But the purpose of it's learning to live and savor those moments. I mean, there's another example where people will say, they're on vacation, maybe they're in Italy or they're at the beach in Florida or whatever it is, and they look at the ocean and they're like, I just can't wait to come back here again one day. I can't wait to be here again one day. I wonder if I'll ever be able to come back. And it's like, well, you're here now. You have this moment. This is your one life, and you're here. You've been led here. God has brought you here. You're here in this moment. Savor it. Enjoy it. Soak it up. Feel the sand beneath your toes and be grateful for what God's done in your life. Eat the food and do whatever it is, that you are there on your vacation to do, and savor it. Because who knows what life is going to bring and what other opportunity and experience that you'll be able to have. But learning to savor the moment. Savoring forces you into the present, so you can't worry about the things that aren't there. So often when we're anxious, we worry so much about all of these things that are going to come, and what about this, and what about the job, and what about my spouse, and what about this conversation? I can't believe so-and-so did that. I can't believe this is going to happen. And instead, when we sit present in the moment, and we're like, there's not actually an immediate threat around me. Wait, this moment is peaceful, right? God is with me. God is ordering my steps. Okay, and here we are. There's not actually a threat. And it's recognizing it, and it's savoring it. We're so hurried. Research shows that people who took just a few minutes every day to savor something they usually hurried through, such as eating a meal, walking to the bus stop, enjoying a cup of fresh coffee with your favorite creamer, that they began to experience more joy and other positive emotions and fewer depressive symptoms. This is just a few minutes each day of doing that. Imagine if you dedicated, and not even dedicated, because that's not the right word. Imagine if you made this a practice that your brain automatically went to. And I've noticed this in myself over time, that I look for moments to savor. And whether I'm cooking dinner for my husband and enjoying the process of cooking, I've really enjoyed learning how to cook and make new meals and use my sourdough to make fresh pasta or whatever it is, and really savoring the moment of, I'm investing in myself right now. I'm learning a new hobby. I'm learning how to cook. So often when we think about picking up a new hobby, and this is something that is so beautiful about living in the present moment, is you can realize different things that you want to do with your life. And to talk about planning for the future, if you're wanting to find a spouse, let's say you're you're single, you're a single woman or you're a single man and you want a spouse, and you think about all the characteristics that person has. They're outgoing, they're hardworking, they have a great career, they have fun, they're exciting, they go on adventures. Okay, well, are you that person too? And it's not just about that. You think about the career you want to have. Let's think about what you want your life to look like 10 years from now. And so what are those things that you can implement in your life every day? And one of the things that is important to me is hobbies. I want to invest in trying and learning how to do new things. I'm learning how to sew right now. I'm learning how to make pasta from scratch. I'm learning how to write. I'm working on a book that I'm writing right now, and I do a lot of DIY projects around the house, refinishing things. So I do a lot of that to pour into myself, and it's living present in the moment. Right now, my bathroom wall is taped up because I'm for the first time painting stripes, and I've never done that before, learning that it's actually very time consuming, but excited for the outcome and enjoying the process. But it is part of becoming the person that I want to be in 10 years from now, is investing into myself now, whether that's listening to podcasts and learning how I can grow my business, how I can, whatever it is, and whatever that is for you, but implementing those practices into your everyday life while not worrying about the future, right? If we trust that God is ordering our steps, and we are also being faithful to learn and to grow. So like I said, I'm writing a book right now, a fiction book. I have spent countless hours doing research, listening to podcasts on how to write fiction books, reading blogs. I read fiction books fervently. And so I'm putting in the work and trusting that if this is something that I want to do with my life, then I'm going to trust that God's going to lead and guide my steps. And I'm pouring into myself to do those things. I'm not going to worry about, oh my gosh, a year from now, is the book going to ever get any sales? Is anyone going to read it? Are they going to like it? What if people think I'm a horrible writer? What if they think it's a boring book? What are we doing right now? What can we do right now? And living present and enjoying the moment that you're pouring into yourself. We need to stop being so outcome focused and more process focused and enjoying the process. If you don't enjoy the process of your life or whatever it is that you're trying to achieve in your life, then you're never going to get to the outcome of what you want. And so that leads me into my final point on savoring, which is giving notice. You ever realize that when you're driving in the car, 20 minutes passes and you can't even remember the drive, or you're sitting in your living room and the same thing happens, an hour's gone by and you're like, what have I even done? And so being able to stop doing that, where you have these blackouts, is to give notice. Actively think, what are things that you can notice and savor throughout your day? Ask yourself that question and let that be a practice that you implement in your life. And the final thing that I want to say is mindfulness, or living present in the moment, all the things that we talked about today with walking with God, it's not about the outcome. It is not about a goal. It is not about completion. This is about coming to peace. This is about coming to joy. And I think that God brings us so much joy in the moment and in the present, because you think about it. That thing you prayed for so long comes and you're like, oh, I'm okay. Because you're already thinking about the next thing you want. For a year and a half, me and my husband prayed about coming to North Carolina. We finally got here. Well, I want a baby. We haven't been able to get pregnant. Okay. Well, I could sit here and not enjoy the thing that I wanted for a year and a half, or I could sit here and be thankful in it and live present in the moment, while also taking the necessary steps to ensure that our bodies are healthy and that we can have a baby. So as you've heard these things, implement these daily practices into your life. Comment down below and let's encourage each other. What is something that you learned today? Just even one thing that you want to implement into your life, and try it for a week. See how you feel. Notice a difference. Journal through it and see what that's like. And let me know the transformation that you have from implementing these things in your life. If you're interested in my life coaching services and working with me one-on-one, which is very impactful for stepping forward into what God has for you in your life, and I hold you accountable for what you're doing in the day-to-day to help you get there, then look at my information down below. I'll see you guys next time.